Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fleet's Random Ramblings. Yes, we're back. We're back. We don't ever stop. We carry on. We ramble on. It's just what we do. And we just crack on as best we can. So, as per usual, we will start with the Patreon questions. And we will work through from there. So, starting with the Patreon questions from Brackman, follow up to his question about ship replacement from last week. So this is a Patreon question. Let me just make sure that's clear. There we go. Patreon. So Brackman asks, November 22nd, follow up to my last question. Ships still being replaced, crews stay the same. If the crew is too large to fit on the replacement ships, the correct excess personnel placed into boats, can they figure out how to operate the new ships in the battle? No. Can they get damage control running? Fire control? No. How will maintenance be handled after the battle? What happens after? Bearing in mind what I've read from last week's question, the High Seas Fleet comprehensively and categorically stomps over the Royal Navy with contemptuous ease. The only hiccups being the RN ships that are actually still what they were when they sailed into battle at Jutland. And I'm sorry to say that I know it's a boring answer, but that's the way it is.
What's the question?
I'm not reading the question aloud again. You can go into last week's ramblings and find that bloody thing. I'm not reading that again. It took me bloody 10 minutes to read it last time. But yeah, just to very quickly simplify, the problem is you've basically put so many different types of variants of ships and massively reduced the Royal capabilities of the Royal Navy. And especially for some of the more modern assets, especially some of the nuclear submarine and the aircraft carriers, they're not going to know how to work it. It's just going to be a fundamental wipe. How will maintenance be handled after the battle? Normally, because the only ships that will survive to return home will be those Royal Navy ships that weren't transformed by Neptune into other vessels. The Germans will kill everything else. What happens after? The High Seas Fleet has total and utter dominance of the world of the oceans. The Grand Fleet is no more. The Battlecruiser Fleet is a shadow of its former self, if it exists at all. The German High Seas Fleet can impose a blockade of Britain. Unless the Royal Navy is desperate enough to risk its pre-dreadnoughts in an attempt to try and fight the High Seas Fleet through sheer weight of numbers alone. The RN is dead. Britain's chances of winning the war are probably dead. The war is probably lost. It really is that simple. I have not forgotten about the US Navy. The US isn't in the war at this point, and probably won't end up joining it, given the speed at which the Entente will capitulate, given German control of the seas. And also politely, even bringing the US Navy in, the German High Seas Fleet stomps the US Navy into a puddle. Even at its maximum strength they can bring to bear. The High Seas Fleet still stomps the USN into a puddle. At this point. And if it's just the battle squadron they sent historically, it's even more stompy.
Could see
the United States Navy is not a match for the German High Seas Fleet without the RM providing most of the modern enablers like cruisers and such. And even
it's
then,
not where I'm going with this.
No, I was just
I
finishing.
wonder.
I was finishing my point. I wasn't done.
All right.
The Royal Navy has a few ships on foreign stations. How many of those are dreadnought battleships? How many of those are battle cruisers?
at this stage, only Dreadnought and no, even the Bellerophons is still in the Grand Fleet, isn't it?
In the Grand
It's
Fleet,
just
yeah.
Dreadnought.
And they're gone. Pretty much every.
What?
They're gone because the German high
The
seas.
only real advantage the Royal Navy has to play is its infrastructure advantage.
You get all 10 Revengers because you do not have a fucking choice. You do
get
not
all
have
10
a
Revenges and then occupy literally every other slipway in the country with more battleships.
I'm sorry, no, like you just get revenge. You just get Revengers laid down and as many dockhouses can take them, and you don't get the admirals revised because whether they have learned the lessons of Jutland or not.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Every
they just built them as
in the country
original.
just spams Revenges.
Yeah, you get all 10 Revengers and you get all 4 admirals. Well, you will
That's still quite a few years of German dominance in the high seas.
Yeah, it's not going to be. They're not going to arrive until after the war is over. Britain will probably. Britain being Britain, I'm sorry, the British will throw the French under the bus. It's either that or lose everything.
Yeah.
But
that does create a very interesting scenario for a follow-up because you can bet they're not going to stop that building spree either.
No, there will be. The like Washington Naval Treaty. The Royal Navy's going to go. Excuse me, fucking no.
Yeah,
and also the Germans.
And also spree that will ensue from the British is going to make the run up to World War I look like child's play.
Yeah. The German fleet is also going to be sat there trying its best to maintain its dominance by finishing its World War I building program. Yeah, there's just not going to be a naval treaty.
The problem is, I don't think at this point anybody has the infrastructure to match that build output.
No, they don't. But the Germans can stay ahead for a decent number of years as long as they keep building.
There's also nothing stopping the Germans from just destroying your infrastructure now.
Yeah, the Germans can.
You don't have a fleet to stop them from hide.
No, the Germans now have the same problem the Royal Navy did. They can't do close-in drive-bys of heavily defended port areas for the same reasons the Royal Navy couldn't do close-in drive-bys of places like Wilhelmshaven and Kiel. Mines, submarines, motor torpedo boats, and destroyers. The situation is now reversed. But they don't have to. Distant blockade plus commerce warfare with prize rules from submarines. And the German blockade is lifted. The German war industry now goes into fucking overdrive. Because all of the things they were short on, they are now no longer short on, and their people are no longer starving. Like, they can send their battlecruisers out to just make sure that convoys of food and supplies come through, and they're basically going to look at the British cruisers on blockade duty and go, what are you going to do? Fight me?
Do the cruisers at this point have torpedoes?
No, you do not. You do not take a bunch of light armored cruisers, scout cruisers, and protected cruisers into a fight with fucking battle cruisers. That is just death. Torpedoes or not, it doesn't matter. Cruisers at this point are at as fast as the battle cruisers, or in this case, sometimes slower than. They're not going to be able to close the range down. The battle cruisers will just obliterate them with accurate gunnery.
This is a question of how fast can you get your crews to learn how KGV works.
No, wait. None of these ships. None of these ships are escaping. The Germans are sinking every single thing on the field that they can find. The only things that escape are the things they don't find. That's it. Anything they find, they kill, including the ships from the actual era. Now, admittedly, they might take some German ships with them. Or they might run. But if they're... Yeah, The Central Powers win the Great War. That's what happens from this. They win the Great War, probably by 1917. Simple as that. Okay. Timu Locker asks. Oh, this is a kind of a gimme for me. Timu Locker on Patreon asks, simple one from me. What if the panel members were able to bring back any ship of war from ancient times to the end of the 19th century as a museum ship? What would it be and why? Oh, come on. Do I even have to answer this one? Like, is it... Come on, you all know what I'm going to say. Come on. It's obvious. I'm bringing Hosh back.
Oh, the horror.
I'm bringing Hosh back as the museum ship. Heck yes. As for you two, since you are the panel right now...
I am thinking. Stand by.
Stand by. Stand by. Yeah, you like jazz, kid?
Smooth jazz.
I like my jazz in the background whenever I do ramblings. It is my thinking music.
Mm.
It encourages my brain to think big thoughts.
Damn, he says ship of war specifically.
Yes.
Shoot.
It has to be a ship of war. You...
Well, there goes Great Eastern.
Yes. Because she wasn't a ship of war.
I know.
Right.
I mean,
So
I would love to. I would love to see one of the turtle ships.
That's not a bad shout. Yeah, an actual original turtle ship. Yeah, that'd be nice to see. Because there's a lot of debate
Or
on what they
maybe, like,
actually look like.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Or maybe like specifically Yi Sin-sin's flagship. That would have been interesting.
Oh my fucking
Considering
god.
those things basically survive 2
Oh
wars
my
and like
God.
hundreds of battles.
Oh my god. What in the...
Long question.
Holy shit buckets. Jesus.
I'm confused by the wording of this question.
I will read it verbatim and we will see what is going on. Okay.
Okay.
Right. 96831 on YouTube art. In the Canadian Power Alt history, in 2008, there was a 2-month conflict between the West and India, Pakistan, and Indonesia. That's a fucking alliance. That's a fucking alliance. Jesus. They must be
Just
bloody
keep
desperate.
going.
Where the former Hermes R-12 was torpedoed by an Royal Canadian Navy SSN and sunk. All 3 Indian Navy Delhi-class destroyers are sunk. INS Delhi torpedoed by an SSN. INS Mysore sunk by an RAAF F-111G Aardvark. And INS Mumbai sunk by Queen Elizabeth's F-18C Hornet. And the Gary-class frigate, INS Targari, and 3 out of 5 Rajput-class destroyers were sunk, with Ranvar sunk by HMS Palga, Ranar and Revaji sunk by HMS Queen Elizabeth's F-18C Hornets. The Talwar-class frigate, HMS Talwar, was sunk by Queen Elizabeth's F-18C Hornet. The Austin-class amphibious transport dock, INS Jalisha, was sunk by a Royal Australian Air Force F-111G Aardvark, while 2 Australian Adelaide-class frigates were sunk, one to an air attack by the Indian Air Force, and the other to an air attack by the another Indonesian AF-1 Anzac-class frigate. So the Indonesians have airborne frigates now, do they? Sorry. Okay, by Indonesia. The AF-1 Anzac-class frigate is sunk by the Pakistan Navy frigates and the Indian Air Force Su-30M flanker Gs. A lot of these losses due to anti-ship missiles. What lessons would be learned? Don't fight fucking Western powers with carriers and full airborne early warning capability carriers, nuclear attack submarines, and fucking Kadabar capability, and large surface assets that are at least a generation ahead of your own, unless you're prepared to get your fucking ass smacked in the face. That
I'm
would
fairly
be
sure
the
there's nothing to be learned.
that would be the lesson I would take away from
Yeah.
that.
The
It's literally-
amount of information that is being provided is absolutely irrelevant.
Yeah, the thing is, they tried to pick on people well outside their weight class and got fucking smacked for it. That's what I read from that.
And like, they keep talking about air attacks. Are you talking about a single plane
I
insect
do
air
have
attack? Or are
to
you talking about
wonder-
ships getting bounced by like an entire squadron?
And even
Like,
then, like, is
okay,
are
cool.
they like when you like are they over the horizon missile attacks? Are they sort of like something akin to when we think of fucking Dance of the Vampires from Red Storm Rising? Is it that scale of air attack? Is it smaller than that?
And and like other than that, it's just like submarine sink boat. Okay,
Yes, like
cool.
it's like
I
it's like
do have
SSN's.
to wonder
It's
where
literally just
the Indian SSN fleet is in all of this.
The Indians don't have an SSN fleet at this
That
point.
is- Yeah.
And
Oh.
also politely, even if they do, it's fucking making a poor showing if fucking these Royal Canadian Navy and Royal Navy SSNs just casually wiping the fucking floor with, well, as you would fucking expect, the Pakistan, Indian, and Indonesian navies.
So yeah, I don't know. All you have done is just name a whole bunch of ships, a whole bunch of planes, and something. This is not a helpful question in terms of what's learned.
Yes, it's basically
This is the exact same situation of who's that Air Force dude who do a live firing testing on the Bradley, and it's just like, yes, we know a RPG will fuck up a Bradley. Thank you for wasting millions of dollars
yes, Colonel Burton.
for your own ego boost.
Yeah, Colonel Burton, the one person who I'd say go to a frontline combat unit, my friend, and no, you don't get a flak jacket.
Oh, that was later than I thought. Okay.
But yeah, the lesson I take away from that given the information is minor navies get fucked on when people with actual fucking carriers and SSN show
Yeah.
up.
Air attack
So
scary.
I was
not
thinking
very
they already had
powerful.
the two Akulas from Russia, but apparently they don't at this point.
Nope. Well, it's the Canadian Power Alt history. Don't be surprised it's instead. And also things like none of us have ever heard of the Canadian Power Alt history. I have no idea what this is.
Yeah, I'm just going based
Yeah.
on vaguely.
I don't know. I don't even care.
I don't know.
My question would be if this is a Canadian powerhouse, why are we still flying F-18s?
I mean, yeah, and also, why? Like, if the British have carriers presumably as well, I don't. It's very confusing.
Why are we flying U.S. assets?
I mean, that's not surprising. Buying in for F-18 is probably likely if the British had ever gone Catabar in the 80s and 90s as replacement.
Well, no.
for what-
Well,
That's
no, but the entire point is that it's a Canadian powerhouse, right?
Apparently, yeah, but like, what that is it? Why?
Which
but
probably
in
means
case,
that-
then why isn't it HMCS? Why is it HMS?
I don't know.
This is the thing. It's like I don't confusion.
I mean, I guess maybe Britain's still alive, where the Commonwealth's still intact, I guess, as a military alliance of sorts.
That's a hell of a
I don't
fucking
know.
moment. Yeah.
And like, my assumption would be if Canada's a powerhouse, Canada would still be Avro Canada would still exist.
Which would be fun.
They would be the one making Canadian aircrafts,
Yes.
and probably the rest of Commonwealth will be buying Avro
Yeah.
Canada stuff.
Okay. Admiral
Logically
Wells-
speaking, but
Admiral
who knows?
Wellesley, Insanity 2 asks, what do you think causes fleet inflation in alternate scenarios or Hoi 4 mods? Well, thing is, fleet inflation isn't really a thing that I've seen in a lot of Hoi 4 mods. If anything, most Hoi 4 mods that change the world in a real massive way usually suffer from fleet deflation rather than fleet inflation. They basically, because the modder has no idea that the reason the fleets in the historical world are the way they are is because of the naval treaties. and they basically put up a similar sort of fleet structure in their alternate world where there has never been fucking treaties of any kind. So the fleets are way smaller than they should be. And various nations that should have ships do not, when they absolutely should. Pretty much the only mod that gets fleet sizes right is fucking Kaiserreich. And I can't believe I'm saying that.
Not really.
Admittedly, Japan's fleets...
No, Kaiserreich
Not
doesn't really
really.
get the fleets
Yeah.
right. That at all, really.
Not really. Not really.
Kaiserreich gets the fleets incredibly wrong.
Well, I didn't say they get the fleet. I said size-wise. It's what you'd expect.
No, size-wise is wrong as well.
Well,
To be brutally honest, the way that they've done the world, their fleets would be much larger than they are for certain nations and much smaller for others. Kaiserreich is unfortunately pretty bad at that, at really most things.
Knight6831 asks, why hasn't there been a Type 5X and a Type 7X or Type 50, Type 70X series in the RN yet? I have no idea. I don't know what they mean. You're probably better off asking Dr. Clark that. He's the guy who would know the answers to those sort of questions. That is outside my wheelhouse. I would need to know exactly what they mean in order to actually discuss why we haven't seen them. And the only person who would know that out of the whole group of people that I know would be Dr. Clark. So I would point that question in his direction and pull the trigger. Next question is a typical gunner officer question from Discord. What if the SALT treaties are restrictive, I presume more restrictive than IRL, and maybe as restrictive as the naval treaties in the interwar period? Are we going to see the world nuclear powers reducing their arsenal by 50% than what they had at the time the treaty was signed, also reducing warhead size or yield significantly, and scrapping older missile systems and missile armaments for nuclear delivery entirely? Are we also going to see reduced capability by missiles developed post-treaty? Gunner officer, you are aware you've just described literally what happened as a result of SALT, right? Admittedly, the reduction in warhead size wasn't that significant, but literally everything else you've said happened. Beat for beat. Warhead size and yield has gone down significantly. Many older missile systems that the various powers possessed have long since vanished from their inventories. And look at the trouble the Russians and the Americans are having developing and fleeting new generation ICBMs. Silo-based ICBMs.
Yeah, there's a reason why the Americans are still using Minuteman 3s.
Like, you've literally just described IRL SALT, with the only real difference being a serious reduction in warheads compared to even more than they already did, which was already a serious bloody reduction in warheads. I don't think you understand, Gunner Officer, the sheer level of holy crap that warhead counts had built to before SALT came in. It's like, we think warhead numbers are ridiculous now. They were fucking off the fucking chain before SALT.
What's next?
Why is Fleet of Oceans called Fleet of Oceans? Well, there is a story to that. So, I didn't always used to be called Fleet of Oceans. In fact, for the longest time online, I think now I've actually been the Fleet of Oceans longer than I have been what I was before. I was not known as the Fleet of Oceans, although no one here will have known me by any other name.
Can confirm.
I am named, and I took my name from a nation-state station I used to run, called the Fleet of Oceans. When I started running it, I was not the Fleet of Oceans, I was something else, and it was just the nation-state's name. But I was in that server pretty much on a daily basis for near on, I only left it this year, for near on nearly a decade. And honestly, I just got tired of having to change my name all the time. And I kind of liked the whole aesthetic, and I kind of liked the name. And it kind of, it was unique, it was me, it was something that I'd created, it was just me. So, yeah, I just adopted it as my name, and it's stuck ever since. My profile pic is actually based on a series of flags I had made for the nation throughout its many years of existence. This being the most modern iteration, which I also took as my profile picture as well, and it's been stuck with me ever since. Yeah, it's a nice blast from the past. I haven't thought of the Fleet of Oceans in a while. God, that was some good times. Good times. 9 years of lore. Yeah, what
Sure,
fun.
I still remember when you had the Imperial German flag.
Oh god, crike! That's old lore. That's old lore. That takes me back. That shows how long you and I have been fucking friends, mate. Jesus, that's.
I know.
Oh god. We were so young. We were so young.
Ah. Oh god, how long's it been now?
Oh god, how long has it been, mate? I mean, good lord, it's been a. When was the first message I ever had from you? Good lord, let's have a look. Scrolling.
I want to say that was during COVID lockdown.
Was it 2020? Yeah, it was. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
5 years.
2020 wasn't that long ago.
It's 5 fucking years ago.
5 years, mate.
Yeah, that's not that long ago.
No. Moving on.
You still sometimes call me Conron.
I always call you Conron. That's all I call you. That's all I know. The new name does not sit well with me. I prefer the old name.
Oh right, because you weren't around when I came up with this one.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed.
I'll have to tell you the story someday.
At some point you will, yes. Brandon Larson on Discord asks, what if the Royal Navy and US Navy swapped battleships, heavy and light cruisers, and aircraft carriers in 1942? All ships that are under construction swap as well. Well, the USN can make that shit work, for the most part. The RN's gonna have problems.
My question then would be, do the naval architects get swapped as well? I.e., if the US wants more carriers, are they going to just build more illustrious / or actually no, at this point it would be I always get this name wrong. Yeah, Implacables.
They'll be building Implacables, but then they'll be
Audacious in early planning.
Yes, they are at this point.
So would the US start spamming out Audaciouses instead of Essexes?
I don't. This is the thing. It's one of these weird ones where without the basically just
to be fair, the US is still also not going to be too happy about the carriers they received.
No, and the battleships they've gotten.
They got, because I think they numerically got less carriers now, and each carrier carried less planes. In 1942, that's a very, very problematic.
No. In 1942, actually, the US has gone up in carrier numbers and capability if they've done this swap. You've got...
They have a lot less under construction.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Which is why I'm asking the question I am, because I imagine in this scenario they are going to lay down new carriers instantly.
I mean...
Well, yeah, of course, but hang on.
I mean, the problem that we have here is that the Royal Navy basically is going to have exploding carriers in the Med. Yippee. Oh boy.
So, okay, they have the 4 Illustrious.
Which is good. That means they've got 1 extra carrier compared to... in terms of modern... Well, no, actually. They've got... No, I mean, I'm talking about modern treaty, post-treaty carriers. They've got.
Well, no, that's the thing. In 42, Arc Royal is gone. Glorious is gone.
Furious is gone.
Eagle's gone.
Yeah, Eagle's gone. Courageous is gone.
Argus.
Do we really want to class her as a frontline carrier?
What other choice do you have? Because you're talking with what, 4 illustrious, 2 courageous, and
I mean,
what?
even
Wait.
Or
Not,
2
no,
courageous.
No, not too courageous.
Not too courageous, actually.
Just
Hang
one.
on.
Furious. No, the courageous class are gone. One of them suffered torpedo to the face. One of them suffered Scharnhorst surprise syndrome. I like that. That's a good phrase.
Well, no, Furious is still around by 42.
Yeah, she's not a courageous class carrier. She's Furious.
Okay, sure, fine.
Yeah. One of the oddball battlecruiser conversions.
I mean,
That's a serious degrade in carrier capability compared to what the US have in 42.
I mean, they're also not going to be pleased about the loss of cruisers. They're still going to have the Fletcher Swarm coming online and the Clemson Swarm because they haven't swapped anything lighter than light cruisers. They're going to be happy with Renown. Not so much with Repulse, she's a little bit outdated, but Renown they'll be happy with because at last we can go faster than 30 knots.
Yes.
The capital ship.
How many towns are under construction at this point?
This is the thing. The US Navy could take the RN above a destroyer tonnage and make it work for them in the Pacific, including the things under construction. They can take it, they can make it work. The RN cannot realistically do the same. Well, at least not with carriers. The RN's going to lose carrier coverage. Because you don't... Look, I know that the US carriers take a beating and they do get, attacked by aircraft. But
the Med is going to chew them up and spit them out.
Corps 10 does not take prisoners.
Yeah.
Ask Audacious.
I mean, yes, but to be fair, Rangers and Wasps went into the Med without.
They went into the safe part of the Western Med.
Yeah.
They did not operate east of Malta. Like they did not have. Yeah, they had it sugar coated and the welcome wagon rolled out for them.
If the RN fully reworks them for air defense for the air defense with all the air search radars and flight control and all that.
I mean, in theory, with British fighter direction, an American radar
would have more,
and the size of air wings.
Load them down entirely.
Yeah, they have much higher capacity. They do have much higher aircraft capacity.
I mean, you could just basically go, hey, Fleet Corps 10, guess what? We have as many fighters as you have aircraft in your strike package. Have fun.
Yeah.
There's a chance. It's just a question of if they do break through the air defense, then the U.S. carriers will struggle a bit more in terms of getting hit.
I mean, the Royal Navy's going to be very happy with getting the North Carolinas.
It could be done, but I think it is much riskier.
28 knot ships with 16-inch guns. Very happy indeed. Happy RN
that's
noises.
All right. Well, I shouldn't say 6. What part of 42 should we?
It doesn't matter. They're getting all of them because they're getting ships in service and under construction. So they're gonna get all of them. Oh, the Iowas as well.
Well, I mean,
happy RN noises.
Well, yeah, the Iowas are building, so yeah.
Very happy RN noises.
But they're gonna
I
cry
don't
with
want
the
to know what the
cruisers, so.
RN is going to plan to do
the
with those
cruisers are
Iowas.
not. Yeah.
There's a big lack of 6-inch cruisers, I would say. No, the Brooklyns are here, so
yeah, the Brooklyns are sat there looking.
The Brooklyn can stay, but
yeah, the Brooklyns basically look at anything the Italians have, including some of their heavy cruisers, and go, "Fight me, bitch!" Drowning 6-inch shell fire.
What are we doing with the Omahas? What to do
God.
with the Omahas?
Oh, the Omahas are great for convoy escort work. They're great. They're great.
true.
They're great as flagships for convoy escort because of their float plane and their reasonable sized
Yeah.
command
Yeah.
facilities.
Okay, where convoy escort?
Atlantic.
No.
If the Omahas can do the fucking Arctic runs, they can do the fucking Atlantic runs.
They won't get rapid death traps on the Arctic run.
Okay, then they will be rough sea boats, but just about usable on the Atlantic runs. The Atlantic is a rough.
No, like the Omahas are not suitable for British service. They do not fall under. They do not fall under any category the British want.
Well, then they better
They
find a
might
fucking
be
use
coastal
for them.
boats. They might be coastal boats.
Not
Like, for instance, we've had variations of this question past week, and basically every time it ends up with the Royal Navy is crying in a corner.
Oh, is it? I assume you two have been dealing with with a lot of these questions I'm getting.
We've had 1930, we've had 1938 and 1940 so far. This is so far one of the better ones because at least now the Royal Navy's actually getting some of the light cruisers compared to previous. Because previous, the Royal Navy didn't get anything. Basically, the problem is most ships for US service do not suit the needs of the Royal Navy. Certain ships will work, stuff like the fast battleships. North Carolina, South Dakotas, they're good enough. They can work with them.
Brooklyn's just body anything in the med. Hysterical laughter as 6-inch shells.
No, they
flying
don't.
around.
But the fact is, the
No, they don't.
Brooklyns don't matter. The fast battleships don't matter. You've stripped away the most important asset from the Royal Navy it has. The Flower class and the Castle classes and the
No.
derivatives and the precursors.
No, you haven't.
You've taken away the entire Royal Navy anti-submarine force.
No, we haven't.
The Americans do not have
Because
an
it
equivalent.
is the question
British Empire
specifically
fucking
is
died.
cruisers and capital ships.
It's battleships, heavy and light
None of the
cruisers
small
and
screens
and
get. Yeah,
aircraft carriers.
none of the
Yeah,
small
but-
screens go.
Nothing.
Even then,
Yeah, none of the small stuff gets swapped in this scenario.
Yeah, it's just.
even then, stuff like the C's and D's, they dual use as convoy command, are fucking gone.
That's what you can throw the Omahas into that role.
No, you can't.
Why not?
There's a lot more C's and D's around than.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're not gonna
It's
sink in the
literal
fucking
orders
Atlantic.
of magnitude.
They're not gonna
more
sink in the
Cs and Ds.
Atlantic. Okay, that's true.
Well, we'll
Okay.
see.
I mean, you.
generally speaking, it's just the U.S. cruiser force is not large enough to fulfill the Royal Navy's
Yeah.
requirement.
Basically,
I
it's stripped away
think
the
with-
Royal Navy's ability to coordinate its AFW campaign, which means it's lost its AFW campaign, which means this swap has caused the collapse of the British Empire.
Which is what was already coming anyway.
It's what we kept coming to.
Yeah.
And also,
British
like I
was
said, the trade also basically collapsed the U.S. capability to fight a Pacific War.
Not really. Like I
Eh,
said,
Yeah, really?
Kinda, yeah. No, kinda,
British
yeah.
cruisers don't have the legs.
Hmm.
The armored carriers don't have the legs.
They have reasonable enough.
Yeah, but
Well,
not the legs
The
that
leg-
can
ideal,
carrier
but-
battle.
okay, the thing is, the carrier legs is, I think, is fine as long as the U.S. is willing to commit more into refueling than
Like, okay, right, no, Foxer, the
usual.
carriers are perfectly fine. They've got 12,000 nautical miles.
Yes, at cruise.
The problem
During
is
the
just
carrier
the
battles, the carriers weren't at cruise for a long period of time.
Yeah, but
It's just-
then they've got the legs then. Like, these ships have fine fuel.
Yeah, it would be tight, but it is doable.
it is mostly just the
Right, no, it's not even
major
tight.
downgrade. It's just the major
compare-
downgrade on the number of airframes the carriers can
Like,
throw out.
actually looking at this, honestly, the fuel is within expectation for them. The only one where it goes differently is the Essex class. The Royal Navy carriers have perfectly fine fuel beyond that. And honestly, the range on the Essex class could be deemed excessive. as 20,000 nautical miles.
Well, no, don't forget the thing is.
Lot.
The thing is, the U.S. practice of using carriers as basically refueler for the fleet, for the task force. The extra
for the
fuel
Essex,
is
perhaps.
not
The others, not so much, because they're between 10 and 12,000.
Yes.
Isn't it?
But no, this is just something they started doing with the
that
Essex.
capability.
Yeah. Which means the US will have to invest more into the oilers, which, to be fair, they're already looking at.
Yeah.
They have to, yes.
But
they don't
the
have
date
too
this is
many.
happening? It's 41, right?
42.
42. 1st of Jan, 42.
We presume.
Okay, so
It just
in the
says
middle of
No,
the
they've
carrier battle.
confirmed. They confirmed 1st of Jan.
Okay.
So you're in the middle of the carrier battles. And you've stripped away the carrier ability to support an entire, basically, the fleet on long distance.
And more importantly, there's just not as many carriers that the US could use.
Yeah.
Because Indomitable doesn't drop until December 42, so that's still in the Slipway when the transfer occurs.
Are we including war damage? So are they
to be
15?
Fair, most of the Essex also don't drop till like December 42, if that like Essex herself commissions 42, December 42.
But no, the issue is you're trading 2 Lexingtons, 3 Yorktowns, and a Wasp for 4 Illustrious.
Possibly 3 Illustrious.
Possibly, but
remember,
somewhere around there.
Herself in 41 gets fucked hard. In America for repairs.
Which, to be fair, it's fine. The US wasn't really conducting too much operations in the early stages for 42. They probably repair that, then send that out for the martial raids in March, was it? February or March, something like that.
But Illustrious is going to be in until late 02. Because of the fire damage.
That's going to be fun, trying to find Konosuba with that.
She was ready for service earlier, but there's ready for service and there's ready for
service. Foxo, you keep saying illustrious. You keep saying illustrious, yeah. Are you sure you mean illustrious?
No.
Because illustrious commissions 1940.
Yeah, I'm talking about the one that goes in excess, which I think is either illustrious or victorious.
It's none of the illustrious.
I thought Operation Outcast wasn't illustrious. Because you've got Furious and an armored carrier.
There's only one carrier for the British. Which one was it exactly? But by the looks of it, it wasn't the armored. It was illustrious. Illustrious was not damaged, basically. She completed complete repairs, but that did have to go to a shipyard for restoration. But she was not seriously damaged by bomb exploding in Essex engine room during her. There's another heavy raid on 17th of Jan, hit again on the 18th. Was not damaged by the one on the 19th.
I don't know why the wiki citing in Essex.
I don't know why it says Essex either, but because Illustrious and Essex were hit during the air raid on the 16th, which they're probably referring to the cruiser, I'd presume.
I just wouldn't use the wiki for this then,
because Illustrious was not damaged. It mentions was not damaged, was not damaged, was not damaged, was not damaged. You might be referring to damage beforehand, but yeah, no. So she was in service, and honestly, the damage wouldn't take that long to repair. It's a thing of to full combat effectiveness. She could still operate even then. You'd want to repair her, but yes.
1 minute, I'll actually go check my books on it.
Because you've also got the 2 Implacables.
Well, they're being built.
Yeah, but they're a decent way along being built. So Not perfect yet, but that means you've at least got 2 upcoming more carriers. Actually, if I'm correct.
Yeah, it's just a lot of the major.
That's Okay, no, so those ones aren't yet. But then what about?
Okay, so from armoredcarriers.com, sourced by HMS Illustrious Part 1 Operation Excess. While the ship is still functional, her hangars needed extensive repair due to fire damage, and was considered unable to operate air wings until a significant repair in America. Basically, the ship still worked, but the gasoline fire in her aft hangar deck basically melted and warped the entire thing. So, as a carrier, she's functionally out of action. Because a warped flight deck is not something you do operations with.
Right.
Yeah.
So
we can move on.
Yes, indeed we shall. Next question. 1931 for Dragon and presumably Voxo since she's here. For what reason would Raycell give to separate Tohaka Yatagami and Tenka?
You do not know how to pronounce names, apparently.
I do not. I'm not Japanese, for God's sake. Do I look?
He's not Japanese.
That one's
so.
Yeah, but that one's really simple. Toka.
Anyway,
anyway,
those people. Anyway, those people into separate beings.
I don't really see why she would. She could, but it's not normally a good idea to separate them. Like, considering, to quote, pushed to the brink of despair and a true form of a tyrannical misanthrope who hates all life and creation. You don't tend to want to have that exist.
Bro. It's just a prank.
It wasn't, but...
I know.
She was rather upset at what happened. So, no, I don't really see a reason for why they would, but, yeah.
Next
question. Typical Gunnery Officer asks, what is your opinion on the USN letting the 2 Issei-class battleships escape through the South China Sea back to Japan without being interdicted by their aircraft or ships? Do you think this event, Operation Kita, is the Pacific version of the Channel Dash? First of all, the USN didn't let the 2 Issei-class escape. They threw considerable numbers of aircraft and submarines at them. The attack just didn't lead to any damage. They didn't do anything more than that because A, the assets weren't in place to really do it. B, quite frankly, the invasion of Okinawa was in the offing, so that was kind of more important right now. And also, politely, as well, okay, a pair of weird battleship carriers, a bunch of cruisers and destroyers carrying some oil and munitions to a country that is already isolated by a US submarine blockade. We've thrown what assets were in the area at it and we failed. Big whoop. They're now trapped in Japan. We know where they are. Yeah, this is not...
fair, they were constantly being harassed by submarines.
Yeah, like, this is not... Yeah, they were not let escape. The US absolutely kept hammering them. Bowmill Boy asks, what if Russia invades Afghanistan and British India in February 1900 as there was a war scare? Russo-British War. Which would at that point also include the French. Which would then also bring the Japanese in on the British side early. Which then means you've got Russia and France versus Britain and Japan.
This
This is
completely
generally
kickstarts
not
a
a
new
good time
timeline.
for Russia to actually invade Britain,
Yeah, the Russians
or
actually...
at least British-held territory. The Boer War is still going on.
Also,
This
yeah...
is by far...
Yeah,
this is probably by far one of the times where the British Army got more money
And also politely,
than
but
most
also...
other branches.
But also, this is one of those moments where also, this is something that nearly happened. Everyone forgets that the only reason there wasn't a coalition by basically multiple European great powers to make the British back the fuck off from the Boers or fight the British over not backing off from the fucking Boers was because every time the French or the Russians tried to get one together, the German Kaiser basically mooted the whole proposal in exchange for, like, a small set of islands from the British.
I think this is one that would have to be wargamed.
You would have to. But basically, this is the Great War. The Great War is kicking off in the pre-Dreadnought era. And that is interesting because this is before the Entente Cordiale. This is France and Russia not quite at their peak, but they're definitely between them. They are the two powers of the two-power standard. If their fleets get together, they actually are within shouting distance of the RN. And that's the one thing the RN must prevent at all costs, the Russians actually doing anything. The Russians and the French actually combining in the northern
the question
city.
then is what the Japanese do.
Well, the Japanese at this point are still coming off the Sino-Japanese War.
I think a better question is going to be, what are the Germans going to do?
Now
Pretty much.
we know the Kaiser was not keen on any anti-British coalition, with or without the agreement of, with or without the offers of being, paid and rewarded for it, because this was Willie in his I love grandmama phase in the last years of her life. If she personally wrote him a letter and asked him to help, he would. And she probably could do that fairly easily. Which would mean Germany ends up fighting Russia and France. And this is a period when the German army is getting getting a decent amount of funding, but the German navy is big enough that it can literally walk up to the French navy and go, "Hi, how are you? Please die."
I think this would be.
This is a fight.
Wargame
Even without the Germans coming in with their army and navy, this is still a fight that's weighted heavily in favor of the Anglo-Japanese alliance.
Put it this way: Central Asian Railway is not completed. However, the British in the British Indian Railway.
They've literally
it's
built
mostly computed.
They've literally finished in the last 5 years a railway up to the Khyber Pass that's built to take divisional scale movements of troops and material.
But they haven't finished the part to Kabul yet.
No, that's the part that they were going to finish but never did because, it was mooted but never actually finished because the threat of the Russians to Afghanistan deteriorated and relations with Russia warmed as relations with Germany cooled. But they can
have a railroad.
Yeah, they can bring and support
actual supply base.
Yeah,
the Russians don't.
Yeah, they can bring and support several divisions on the Afghanistan border by rail.
And the French Navy this period standing up to the Royal Navy, coughing baby versus hydrogen bomb.
No, it's not that. It's not as clear cut. It's that
bad fleet.
It's not as clear cut as that. No matter how much
fleet. What year are the Boer Wars?
Specifically, it's 1900 we're talking about here.
Yeah, so 1900.
Yes.
The middle of the pre-dreadnought period,
Yes.
when the
I know.
French Navy is at its worst,
Yes, I am aware of that.
where they've just come out of the relevancy of Je ne Cole. They don't have a battle fleet. They don't have a modern cruiser fleet.
Whoa, hold on. I'm gonna stop you right there. The French do at this point have a large cruiser fleet with some key
Hence I said
modern
a
assets.
relevant cruiser fleet.
No, that you have a very relevant cruiser fleet in this period, especially if we're talking about 1900, well before the Dreadnought era. Their cruiser fleet is very, very relevant, as is the Russian one.
All part of it is.
Not.
Neither
No.
navy actually has the mass to contend with this Royal Navy.
Right. Also, as a counterpoint to their fleet, this is the period where France still has ships which primarily have sails as propulsion.
Yes, France still has sail cruisers in second line service.
This is the period. That's not a market fleet.
When you don't have a battle fleet, it is.
That is not.
But when your cruisers are your primary fighting element, that's an issue.
That's not just. Okay, first of all, stop. That is not.
You're trying to glaze the turn of the century French.
No, I'm being realistic about it. You're
my
trying
more
to.
jokey
You're
French
trying
fleet,
to.
shut it for a second. Because it is a generation where they're making ships like Hoche and the other failures of pre-dreadnought. Fleet, this is the worst excess of the French Navy.
So,
there is massive institutional rot there.
So keep in mind, if this is a case of it,
it's going to be able to stand up to the Royal Navy. Historically, they realised they couldn't.
Also, you've got another problem here. A lot of French ships aren't properly ready yet. For instance, I'm having to go back to ships laying down in 1893 just to have them in service for 1900. In particular, with the just looking at the armor cruiser, for instance, it would be the French cruiser Pothau, or some sort of French nonsense.
Yeah, like the French,
like
the French battleships are not
French
the part
Navy
of the.
Are pathetic.
Foxo, I would advise you to.
Pathetic.
I don't give a crap about the battleships. Will you pull your head out of your ass? Stop glazing the Royal Navy and actually listen for a fucking second.
The French Navy is irrelevant because they don't actually have a battle fleet. And Je ne Cole has been proven to not.
So the most up-to-date battleship they have in service is the Charlemagne's.
That is not how.
That are their most modern ships. As anything after that's not actually finished yet for another 2 years by the start of this conflict, battleship-wise.
You all keep jumping down my throat before I explain how the French would actually use their navy. Shut the fuck up, Foxo, for God's sake. I swear to God, I'm this close to muting you.
Well, then fucking do it.
If you are not going to let me have my say and actually defend my position...
I'm saying something that's objectively wrong. Like, we're all okay for opinions, but you are being objectively wrong here.
Like, I'm sorry, but last time I checked, even when I think you're objectively wrong, I don't shut you down completely. I at least let you have your say.
You've done it before, actually.
You do, that's the thing. You do.
But anyway, unfortunately, I do have to agree with her fleet, because at this period, France is not in a position where they could even remotely hope to fight British forces.
Not by themselves, no.
This is the same
even
thing
with help.
That got cock-stomped in the Franco-Prussian Wars.
So, to fight the British fleet of this period, you would be looking at France, Germany, and Russia all ganging up.
Well, the Russians and the French could make a reasonable go of at least keeping the British fleet away from
No, not really, they can't.
Yes, they realistically can.
It's a question of mass, and they don't have the mass.
The Russians and the French combined absolutely do.
Not at this period.
Combined. The problem is not just that. The problem is combined.
It's like, okay,
We've
British
also got another problem.
Russians in the Baltic and the Crimea. So the Russians aren't coming out to play because they've got to go through the Dardanelles, or they're going to have to transit to the North Sea. That's a fragmented force. They're not going to be fighting as one.
No,
The French are going to get
Well,
Roppelstone.
I also
Because that's where the Mediterranean fleet, or the Channel fleet, or the Northern fleet come down, just bait slap them if they try and do anything.
I would agree that when it comes to the Mediterranean, I think you're looking at I think navally, I don't disagree. I'm not saying that, bear in mind, I'm just going to clarify here. I'm not saying that the Russians and the French are going to win a naval contest with the British, given this is the fight the British have literally been building to fight. What I'm saying is, it's not going to be as one-sided a slap into the dirt as you're saying it is. The British,
But what
the French
do?
In terms of
Their
capital
forces
ships,
are far too.
in terms of capital
Their forces
ships,
is far too divided.
in terms of capital ships, both Russia and France can realistically not do much. However, their cruisers can cause the British some trouble, especially some of them they're more potent armored and protected cruisers that are easily a match for British vessels.
Wait, but you said they're not more powerful though. Fleet.
No,
They don't have as many.
No, Dragon. No, that wasn't what I meant by the term. I said they're more powerful, as in the more powerful cruisers they have out of the cruisers they have. That's what I meant by more powerful, not that they were more.
Right,
powerful
that's not quite how it came across, but okay.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I didn't. Yeah, no, they do not. They are not walking around with a
fair,
big cruiser stick. The
But
British
that
have that.
solves the fundamental issue of this period. The British have the bigger battle fleet, the more modern battle fleet, and the more capable battle fleet.
Absolutely, I will
The
agree.
British can afford to detach second line or older battleships to deal with these cruisers. And are you going to tell me a period armored cruiser will happily match up with a pre-dreadnought?
I mean, honestly,
At this period.
Foxo, no, actually, it's even worse than that. They've literally got ships basically purpose-built to fucking do this. I mean, for God's sake, look at HMS Dreadnought. She could quite easily be detached to just escort convoys, and she's just a hard you can't fight me in her rebuilt state for anything that comes near her that's a cruiser.
Yeah, and this is what I was trying to point out.
The
French don't have a battle fleet means they can't deter the Royal Navy, which means France loses access to its global trade
and its empire.
Also, on top of that,
and
just
French
honestly,
economy that's recovering from the Franco-Prussian Wars,
Oh,
that's already severely weakened, that implodes. That's reliant on colonial trade.
By
So
1900,
France loses its economy, drops out of the war, and arguably stops being a great power.
the French economy is not that weak by 1900.
Because
It is.
they lose
no,
their
it
empire.
actually, at this point, no fleet actually is that fragile because they are still trying to recover from the Franco-Prussian War. They are incredibly paranoid.
They paid off the debt from
46% of France's gross income is coming from colonial taxation and colonial tariffs. They've lost access to 48% of their gross income. I shouldn't have to explain to you what that does to a national economy.
No, obviously not. I mean, come on. I mean, I will admit, I thought the French economy was leaning on its empire, to be sure, but I didn't know it was that bad. Christ.
It was that bad.
Yeah, in that case, then as soon as the blockade locks in, the only thing the French can really do is break out some cruisers, but even then they'll be punted down fairly rapidly. And the Russians will be trapped in the Baltic and the Black Sea, where the Royal Navy will not want to go because the Russians will have local superiority there. But yay, congratulations, you have local superiority in the Baltic and the Black Sea. Now what?
Well, honestly, it won't surprise me if once they've rolled up the French, British just go in there, get access, get fleet basing rights from the Swedes, which they had at this point, because they had squadrons in the Baltic based out of Stockholm and Gotland. And then just go, hey, Russia, so you got a couple of good battleships. Well, I just bought 3 squadrons.
And of course, the Russians are going to have problems as well with, you know, the whole, you know, minor
It is assuming that
problem.
no one else intervenes, because if you knock out France that quickly, suddenly Germany's going to be looking at Russian Poland going, give me that back.
Yeah.
To be fair, the big question is, would France even consider joining in this war?
They are bound to by alliance.
Eh,
It won't be the first time the French have broken alliances in this period.
That's true. I mean,
to be
Yeah.
fair, this is a fight none of the side is really looking for.
no, not really. There's a reason why there was a limited appetite for it, and it was basically the only way it was going to happen is if basically everybody agreed. There's a reason why the whole coalition against Britain thing during the Boer War falls apart if even one of the powers says they're not interested. And every single time it fell apart when Germany said, I'm not interested. Because without all of them, none of them succeed.
Yeah, it is one of those cases of hands up who wants to go to war. Everyone raises their hand. Hands up who wants to go to war against the Royal Navy. People put their hands down.
Like I say, it wasn't so much that, it was more the fact that the Germans kept saying no for rather flimsy reasons, because the Kaiser was, you know, not wanting to upset his grandmother. Which is valid, to be fair.
And how much of that was prestige covering a spin piece for, oh shit, we're importing a lot from British colonies in America, we don't want to be cut off from that.
Not as much as you'd think. Ironically enough, from what's been written about the period, from what I've read, since I've read a little bit into this whole build-up of these series of coalitions that go nowhere, a lot of it literally was just the Kaiser wanting to remain on friendly terms with his grandmother as her health deteriorated. That's literally the long and the short of it. Yes, he got a small colonial concession out of it, but that was just to save face at home for doing it. His main goal was to remain on good terms with his grandmother and the English part of his family.
He's also not an idiot, like his son.
What do you mean, like his son?
We're talking about Wilhelm III.
Oh, right.
The ones that came about after they lost the throne of Germany.
I don't
Those
want...
retards.
Words language. Crikey, we're really outgoing ham tonight. Right, so... Next question from Brackman on Discord. I don't mind it. I don't mind it when me and Fotso go toe to toe. It keeps my brain sharp, and I learn things. Always happy to learn things. And she keeps me up to the mark. Brackman asks, in an alternate history of the Wizarding World, Great Britain, the Wizarding World of Great Britain got conscripted into the British Armed Forces during World War II. What role would you assign them to? Assume other factions are doing the same. As far as I'm aware, since technically the Wizarding World of Great Britain is technically a ministry under the government by technicality, it's not Prime Minister of the magical world, it's Minister for Magic. So, as far as I'm aware, given that magical powers also existed in other parts of the world, and knowing the Nazis' occult leanings, I would consider it very surprising if there wasn't a wizarding aspect to the Second World War, if I'm completely honest. I would find it very surprising.
The answer is that J.K. Rowling didn't think about that stuff.
No, she didn't.
No, isn't World War II when the Wizarding World's dealing with the whole Grindelwald's issue? Or is that earlier?
It was earlier, I think.
I don't remember. I
might have gotten like
something
timeline
related.
somewhat jumbled up, but if I recall, at around the time of World War II, they were dealing with Voldemort, like the first time that Voldemort was around.
I thought that was the 60s.
Voldemort,
No,
you've also
no,
got
no,
all
that's
the
way
magical
too early.
beasts escaping and Grindelwald, yeah.
It should
So
be
the
just
Wizarding World
Grindelwald.
desperately hang up a
Okay.
life itself.
So yeah, the Wizarding World's a bit too busy to deal with you muggles.
But if, say, Grindelwald wasn't happening, expect... So has anyone here seen the memes of the absolute war crimes of wizard and sorcerer can get up to in D&D?
Vaguely.
Such as non-linear timing,
Yes. Yes, indeed.
basically. So there's an SCP article where
Oh no.
there's a containment breach in Nazi Germany in 1939.
I agree with
And the
Guy.
Nazis-
Oh no.
And the Nazis and the British get access. Nazis, British, French, and Russians get access to anomalous weaponry and artifacts.
This does not go well for all involved.
Shit goes bad.
And also politely, the Nazis were already fucking around with shit they shouldn't have been. Fucking Bismarck!
No, this is Bismarck times a million. We have stuff like fucking. Okay.
Please tell me they get the
Have
cliche.
stuff like literal Nazi zombies.
I knew it! I knew it was coming! I fucking called it!
Yeah, no, and that's the vanilla stuff in this article. We're talking artillery that reverses time, artillery bombs that. But Hamburg just gets deleted from existence because the British make a tall boy bomb that takes a 30-kilometer square area and reverse it back 19,000 years. One of these bombs, when taken to Tirpitz, fails and brings back a bunch of dinosaurs. Yeah.
Am I to assume that
one of the SCP-X articles? I don't know off the top of my head.
I assume, therefore, that the SCP Foundation does a whole. Alright, that's it. We're wiping the slate fucking clean.
No, it's literally an apocalypse scenario.
Yes, it literally is. It literally is. Right, activate the cloning machine, reset everything. For like what, the 16th time or something?
Well, the Foundation don't know how many times the universe has been reset. They just know they've reset the universe 16 times.
Yeah.
However, stuff like SCP-5000, they don't know the universe has been reset.
Yeah. Whereas SCP-3000, the actual cloning machine that is somehow theirs, but they didn't build it, but they know how it works exactly. That they understand. Kind of.
But the SCP-5000 is SCP-5000.Y, which is the SCP Foundation going off its rocker. Because they discovered that
Oh, yeah.
suicidal empathy, as they call it, and most forms of pain aren't natural to human life. And there is a being feeding off our suffering because it's made us hyper empathetic when we shouldn't be, which has made us vulnerable to predators. So they go out of their way to cut themselves off from this and inadvertently make themselves evil by killing everyone in the Foundation's sense of their sense of empathy, which causes them to go, what's the easiest and most effective way of wiping out humanity to rebirth it without empathy? Why don't we just unleash every single SCP in our arsenal at them?
Mm-hmm.
In which the Global Occult Coalition, aka the fucking UN, kicks the Foundation's ass.
No, they don't. The Foundation's winning that war.
The Foundation end up winning it. But the Global Occult Coalition managed to kill over 90% of the Foundation and over 80% of all anomalies. And the Global Occult Coalition kicked so much ass that kicked so much ass that
You're
Arthur
trying.
couldn't figure out how to make them lose.
Jesus.
So he added in a time travel plot, but the Foundation causalities guarantee it out of existence by saying it never existed. Can't be killing us all because it doesn't exist.
Yeah. So, moving on. 96831 asks, how does the RN's type classification deal with the fact that the advent of modern-day multi-purpose military doctrine across all militaries it's now hard to define a ship's role clearly? It's not hard to define a ship's role clearly. That's never been the issue. The issue has always been dealing with how do we attach a designation to that purpose and role that makes sense to both us and the general public. And also, you know, we can say to politicians that doesn't make them immediately cock their head, scratch their eyebrows and go, the fuck are you talking about, Jimmy? That's the rub. Like, what's...
And now for the subject matter expert.
Yes, I was waiting for him to come in.
Okay, what's the problem?
Did you not hear the... I thought you
Sorry,
were waiting
I was taking a munch out of my pasty at that time. I was mildly distracted. Please please repeat the question.
Much. Honestly, having a pasty munch, nope, perfectly fair, valid, understandable, have a nice day. 96831 asks, how does the RN's type classification deal with the fact that the advent of modern-day multi-purpose military doctrine across all militaries means it's now hard to define a ship's role clearly? What I basically said was, defining a ship's role has never been the hard bit. The hard bit has always been the classification that comes with it that you put out as, you know, what a ship is in terms of its class or designation. Defining the role of a vessel, in theory, is never the hard bit.
No, it's quite easy. The type thing is entirely what their primary role is. It's type is primary role. All ships are supposed to be general purpose to one extent or another. It's just that some ships are actually defined as being general purpose as their primary role. So if you're talking about the 8 series ships in the Royal Navy, they are general purpose by their primary role. Whereas if you're talking about the 2 series or even the 4 series, the 2 series are primary role ASW, general purpose secondary. The 4 series are primary role anti-aircraft warfare, general purpose secondary. So in nicest way, the class system is very easy. It's their primary role. It's not the whole thing they do. All ships are to an extent supposed to be general purpose. It's to a lesser or greater extent. When they're an 8 series, it means they are a general purpose warfare asset, which means they are able to be by definition of a general purpose asset, they are able to be primary lead in more than 2 areas of warfare. So basically, a Type 83 is able to be primary lead vessel for a task group's ASW force and a task group's area air defense network force. That's it. It will also probably have a land attack capability.
Yeah.
But seeing as I doubt it's going to have lots of very large guns, or a huge collection of land attack missiles, I doubt it will be primary lead in land warfare as well. That'll probably still be left to carrier.
Yeah. We can only make it do so much without literally expanding it to be the size of a QE.
No, literally at a certain point, once you reach that sort of level where your primary warfare you are able to be a primary warfare ship in all areas of naval warfare. At that point, I think you probably have reached a new classification form of battleship, because you literally are going to be about 80,000 tons, and you are going to be able to do everything.
Honestly, we could redefine.
Then you do get the title of battleship by just sheer dint of firepower.
Oh no, I think you get the title of battleship by redefining what a battleship is. You are a ship that can do battle in any fucking form it likes. Come at me, bro.
Yes. It's basically you're either battleship or you are come on if you think you're hard enough world.
Yeah. Yeah. So, nice, interesting question. Brackman asks, what are your favourite super weapons in games, books, and movies? So...
Well, in games, I really like the artillery one. In Supreme Commander, because Fleet really hates it when you do that. When you set up with the massive artillery and you just blast them to pieces before you can do anything.
We've never played Supreme Commander against you. yet.
No, I've just managed to cause you a reaction on a train when I was talking about it.
Look, I don't mind the Mavor. It's not that big of a deal as long as you've got good shielding and power to support it. If you have good shielding, and you keep your commander under that shielding, the Mavor is not a threat.
As long as your opponent doesn't have more than one Mavor.
Yes, but at that point, I would argue you are seriously... I will... If you are investing in more than one Mavor, I am going to be saying either you have far too much mass and sense, and you've already won the game, and you are just showing off, or at that point I would go, maybe put that into some offensive experimentals, like 3 fat boys to just shatter the enemy's line.
Yeah, my last battle versus my friends involved me bringing 12 fat boys and having 8 Mavors.
Jesus Christ, how long did that one go on for?
They forgot I was in the corner of the map for too long. They left me alone with me.
Oh. As for my super weapon favorite, I'm gonna go for something that's like a little bit niche, but when I was a little bit younger, I read an Amazon Kindle book series about basically a British Empire that's kind of steampunky in the 2000s, where Victoria's still queen because life support throne go burr. And they have like steampunk, or all the good steampunk things you'd expect. Like dinosaurs exist and all that stuff, and you know, the British Empire is stuck in the 1900s. Literally the not the 1890s, the 1900s, like literally just before Queen Victoria died. And their main rival is Imperial China. Although, funny enough, history follows mostly the same beats. The Great War was what it was. The Second World War was also what it was. The Nazis still rose up. Although, admittedly, they don't have nearly the same success as they did historically. They just drive into belt. They literally refight the Great War again.
How did we end up with a Great War when we had Queen Victoria still around? Because she'd have just told William to shut up and he'd have done it because he had a grandma complex.
She's not been saying anything since about 1903. She's alive, quote unquote, but she's Emperor of Mankind alive. When I say life support throne, I mean literally that sort of life support throne.
That makes more sense because we all know he had really weird things about his grandmother. Have you ever read some of the poetry he wrote about her? That man had some serious issues going on.
Yes, he did. But anyway, one of the things that the British Empire does is that despite being the British Empire at the height of its power and basically having 2 centuries of Pax Britannica, it still wants to do more funny things and have even more things to throw at things. So it decides in its infinite wisdom to build a bioweapon. And the bioweapon it builds is a literal fucking kraken.
Okay.
It takes the most devastating sea creatures it can find and blends them together into a 200 feet long monster that can tear a battleship apart and then chew upon what remains with its massive anglerfish-style maw that it has instead of a beak. And it's armored as well. Oh, and then they also kind of, at the end of the book, you find out that that's actually only the small thing. And there's also like an even bigger thing they built at the bottom of the trench that they then wake up with explosions. After everyone's left. So yeah, good job, Britain. Once again, meddling with things man was not meant to know and creating things that man should not really have created. Because of course it goes wrong. The underwater base is destroyed, the Kraken goes rogue and starts sinking things that are near the base. Because it's a massive sea creature that with an appetite it cannot possibly maintain without killing literally everything around it.
Okay.
So, anyone else got any super weapons from fiction they want to talk about?
I've got 2. One's serious, one's a joke. Which one do you want first?
Sod it, go for both.
So, the serious one is so this one is Stonehenge from Ace Combat. Like, that thing is a super weapon even in modern context. Some sci-fis, you wouldn't want to go near that thing. But it's one of those super weapons where it had a purpose, it was used, it came back a second time in a cool way, dry firing to destroy an arsenal bird. Well, not destroy an arsenal bird, saw it in half through the shockwave firing. Which is, and someone's done the maths, and if you had enough money, you could actually make it. It's one of the few super weapons I'm aware of that are that sort of fantasy super weapons where it's just like, if you're willing to bankroll it, you could do this IRL.
Can I just make a small statement here that this worries me whenever I hear the concept of Foxo and just being limited by enough money to get a super weapon? Am I the only one who's scared by this concept?
Yes,
No.
I fully agree with you, Dr. Clark. This is very, very scary.
Yeah. This is
I'm
Foxo,
actually
can I just clarify you haven't got enough money to build this super weapon?
Well, they calculated the cost of building Stonehenge.
If she
in
does have that much
2012.
money, I'm gonna ask her for a house for a loan
Okay,
to buy
for
a house.
context of how much money to build it as calculated in 2012 market rate, you would need, and I quote, 37% of the entire planet's GDP.
Okay, good.
As I said, if you suddenly acquired this much money, I am asking you for a house loan.
No. Now we need to do is make sure that she never somehow gets together with Elon Musk in any way, shape, or form.
No,
Anyone who's getting
all of us need to ask her for house loans.
Oh.
I'm actually gonna throw my hat in the ring on this question.
Just gonna do my joke one quickly.
Oh,
Okay.
sure.
The joke one is in a fantasized World War II setting where the British Empire wants to sow division in Nazi Germany. So they create a forced evolutionary bomb, basically, causing people to mutate and combine with the other organisms in their environment. Very horrific. At this point, because the gods are real in this setting, the big one upstairs decides, nah, screw you, that's too cruel. And twists it so suddenly the British accidentally turn half of Berlin into catgirls. And the British now have the random ability to turn dropping this bomb, turn half the population of a city into either cat girls, fox girls, or dog girls, or raccoons when they use in America.
Of course, that would be one of your favorite super weapons. Why am I not surprised?
I would like to point out that could cause problems. That weapon, far beyond it being a complicated, far beyond damage, because they're actually. I can think of at least a few countries in the world which might be asking for for parts of their country to be bombed by that weapon, and people volunteering for it.
I call it a super weapon because its original intention was super weapon worthy. It just didn't turn out the way they wanted.
No. Just quickly, because I noticed that it doesn't need to be a full discussion, because I've noticed that Knight's asked a follow-up question on Type 1s. That's because the Type 7s don't exist. The Royal Navy, when they made the Type system, spread them out far enough so they could put ships in there for many years and wouldn't have to repeat. So it starts off at Type 1s, then goes to Type, which is the ASW ones, which are now Type 2s, and then goes to Type 3s, are general-purpose frigates. That was started more recently, though, because it was realized they hadn't got the 30s. Type 4s were air defense. Type 6s are anti-aircraft direction frigates, but that also includes anything above them, and basically it's been added into the air warfare. And Type 8s and above were multi-role ships. So basically, it goes Type 1s to basically Type 3s are forms of ASW frigate / general purpose frigate for the 31 and 32. 4 to 7s are air warfare ships, and 8s above are general purpose ships. So the reason you haven't seen Type 7s used yet is we've only got as high as Type 45. Give us a chance. We'll get there eventually.
Anyway, as I was saying, I'm gonna put favorite super weapon in as Oxygen Destroyer from the Godzilla series. Not necessarily for the weapon itself, but because of how well the franchise handles it across its various iterations. No matter how much power creep there is, no matter how much odd and insane abilities you see the monsters show off, the Oxygen Destroyer is still something that inspires fear whenever it's mentioned. Across all the iterations.
What is the Oxygen Destroyer?
It was the experimental weapon Dr. Serizawa came up with in the original 1954 movie to kill Godzilla.
Is it the basically Mega Nuke one?
It was treated that way, yes. The explanation from the movie is that it dissolves all of the oxygen in the water, rendering life impossible.
So it's the one that you now just okay. Yeah, I know what you're about now.
The weapon itself isn't anything special by super weapon standards. The reason I mention it here is because of how consistently well the franchise has utilized it. It is always something that it is treated with reverence and is not overused basically ever. It whenever it does show up, it always has some disastrous side effects. It's never a clean. It's never a clean weapon.
It makes sense given what you described about it. Makes sense given what you described.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, in the original 1954, it's an allegory for the nuke. In 2014, King of the Monsters, the U.S. government has it as an experimental weapon that they've loaded into a missile and shot at Godzilla and Ghidorah, and it utterly fails to damage Ghidorah, but still does quite a number on Godzilla, and leads to quite easily the darkest hour in that movie.
The Oxygen Destroyer.
Yeah. And they only mention its name once, and actually one of the little details I love, they do flash up just for a second on one of the screens the image of the payload, and it is a like one of those 3D blueprints of the original Oxygen Destroyer.
Yeah, because it's a really nice little reference to the original.
Yeah. It's a really nice little reference, but anyone who knows the original is instantly going to go, oh no. Because even after, at that point, that would have been the 60th? The 50th anniversary. Oh, 60th anniversary. It still carries the same weight it did in the original. But I think it's very interesting from a meta-narrative standpoint to analyze how they have handled the Oxygen Destroyer in that franchise. And I think a lot of it comes down to how infrequently you see it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Godzilla -1, even for how closely it follows it follows parts of the format of the original 1954, it doesn't pull out the oxygen destroyer. And I suspect we're not going to see it in -0 either. I could be wrong on that, but I suspect it's not going to pop up. Shin Godzilla, we didn't see it. We haven't seen it since King of the Monsters. I don't believe.
Right.
I think that's a very important part to maintaining a super weapons
Mystique.
impact. Yeah.
Does anyone have any other things they wish to add before we move on?
No.
Holy hand grenade of Antioch.
Yes. Okay, yeah, okay, that one gets it in. Bo Millboy asks, why didn't the French Equatorial Africa fight Vichy French West Africa like they did to French Gabon? A simple matter of logistics and geography. Basically. French Gabon, they could actually reach and engage. West Africa wasn't really practical. There weren't any lines of advance they could realistically use. And
they need to build the infrastructure to actually do the attack, and, well, people can usually see when you're building roads and railways in their direction.
And also, politely, it's the Free French in West Africa. They have a grand total of 2 bullets and 1 rifle to their name, and nothing in the way of heavy machinery.
And neither of the bullets actually work with that rifle.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, thing is, in Gabon, they have 4 bullets and 2 rifles. So they can go and kill the Vichy French who have 1 bullet and 1 rifle. And also there's a road right there. That we can walk down. That's...
It all helps.
Yeah. Right. Brandon Larson asks, for Dragon, you are in command of 3 over-sectors during the Clone Wars and are tasked with defeating a major Separatist offensive into your theater of operations. What is your overall strategy and what forces would you use for this task?
Get me as many victories as you bloody can and see if we can pull out one of those mandators. We've got 4 of the bloody things, might as well use them.
Throw the clones at it, question mark? / Praetors?
Well, the clones are going to be needed one way or another.
Yeah. Praetors, question mark?
Like, we've got Mandator 1s, we've got Mandator 2s.
Any Venetors?
So, yeah, try and get...
Any Venetors, question mark?
Well, yes, but that's obvious, because you're, of course, going to have that. Because there's not much other things, really.
See, asking if the Republic's of Venetors is like asking if the US Navy in World War II had a Fletcher. Like, they're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
So, yeah, basically split forces into various different command groups. We should have some Praetor Mark 1s by now. Get those out there if possible, because 3 over-sectors is a lot, so it means we'll have a large presence. So, without going into absolutely titanic thing, I'd have to do a lot. And I mean a lot of wargaming and figuring things out. That would be the best way of doing it.
Remember, just pray that either Anakin or Obi-Wan are in your sector.
I'll try spinning, that's a good trick.
No, it's because if they're in your sector, well done, you've attracted the attention of people like General Grievous.
Oh, yes. He owns...
And protagonists don't care about your force structure.
Yes, he owns a Gorn for home defense because that's what he decided. Good times.
Oh, just a question for you in chat, please.
Uh-huh.
Is it strange to eat 6 pounds of cheese in 5 days?
6 pounds is in the weight. Over 5
Yeah.
days. If you feel like eating cheese, if you feel like being in a cheesy mood and you're eating that over the course of 5 days rather than 1 day, yeah, no, that's fine. If you're feeling in a cheesy mood, that's fine. 6 pounds of cheese is not... That is not... If you spread that over 5 days, that is not...
A more serious question would be, is this cheese
Yeah,
the
no,
only
that's-
thing you have been consuming?
Yeah, no, Fox, so that's only 2.7 kilograms of
least-
cheese. That's...
For
that-
at least
that's
2 days, that cheese is all I was eating.
honestly, that's fine. Like, is in 2.7 kilograms spread over 5 days. Like, in terms of... Like, obviously, it shouldn't be all you were
Eat more
consuming.
food.
Yeah, that's actually, like, you could eat more cheese if you wanted to.
I like eating cheese.
But that's good. You can eat cheese. That's fine. You are eating actually less cheese than you can afford to eat. You could add more cheese to that cheese. 2.7 kilograms of cheese is not that much cheese. Especially not spread over 5 days. Bowmill Boy asks, what are the panel's favourite SCP articles?
Oh. Now that's a great question. First things first, are we including SCP-X?
Probably not. No, just the normal wiki.
Yeah, SCP-X are on the normal wiki.
I forget. What are they again? It's been a while since I dabbled in them.
The SCP-X articles are, I think they renamed them actually. But I know there was these SCP-X articles. Are end of the world scenarios. They're containment breaches.
Oh, yeah, the XKs. The XK class end of the worlds. Yeah.
Or at least they're broken masquerades. But
Yeah.
the SCP Foundation can't
Yeah.
be secret anymore.
For me, it's an oldie but a goldie. I still am very fond of the whole Flying Dutchman and the Kraken bit. Where, you know, the SCP Foundation casually nicks one of the US standard class battleships and sinks it to give it, well, not nicks, but pays the US government to borrow it. And then they... You know, and then they sink it. What? Which battleship was it? Let's have a look. Oh, USS Montana. She looks like a. She looks like a West Virginia, I think. I'll post the image. Our resident naval historian can tell me. Dr. Clark, what is that ship? Is that a West Virginia? I think that's a West Virginia. I don't know.
No. It's not only Mexico, because it's got a triple up top. Is it in Arizona?
It could be. Could very much be, yeah.
It is Pennsylvania.
Ah, so yeah, she's a...
Okay, because I've got two favorite SCPs. One is a specific numbered SCP. One's a expanded universe SCP article. Hello?
No, I'm listening. I thought you wanted to
Oh.
keep going.
Oh yeah, I thought I heard someone say something. Well, so the first one is SCP-160. which is the rewrite is a quadcopter drone, but the original is a predator drone that has become sapient and is acting like a bird of prey. And will try and eat your organs. And it's specifically noted that in the article, it's one of my favourite parts about it, that but further research on SCP-160 is underway, but it has proven difficult due to SCP-160's continuous operation. Tranquilizer darts are ineffective, as SCP-160 appears to be composed out of entirely non-biological components. So the SCP Foundation tried to tranquilize a quadcopter.
Okay.
And it's just a fun one. And the other one is the SCP article, The World's Gone Beautiful. It's an article on that 24 hours before the end of the world will become just for a day, everything will be idyllic. And people who are in pain will cease being in pain. Flowers will bloom everywhere. And everyone on Earth will become aware of the inevitable destruction. Well, over the next couple of hours, come to terms with it. Containment procedures are to release any D-class personnel and non-aggressive SCPs, as containment will not be required. I'll post a link to it because it's a very beautiful article.
So,
and quite a bit of the extended story.
I do anyone else who finds it sort of very worrying that the SCP organization suddenly goes nice when it's the end of the world.
Yeah,
that really doesn't sound like them.
This is the whole thing with The World's Gone Beautiful. It's the sort of soft malice of it all. That's the thing. That's the real sort of dark side to it.
It's just sort of that realization of what's going to destroy the world. Just you can't stop it. It's beyond your control. Just relax.
Let it happen.
Basically, yeah. That's
basically
the thing
go gracefully.
Because it makes everyone on the planet aware of what's about to happen, but it also removes any sort of thing that would lead to usual things when that would be brought into the human psyche. ATC. I'm just looking at it. Funny. Has anyone else got any SCP articles they wish to discuss, or shall we move on? Probably got a couple more questions in me before we finish for tonight. Because then we'll have gone for about
Bailey versus Jack Daniel.
Apparently, YouTube Microwasher has shown 2 of his co-workers of Hosh, and they are fans of Hosh, which is nice. But for the next actual question, Brackman asks, since we're talking about the Omahas, which we were, what would change on them with what we know today, what the war in the Pacific was like? Basically, you build them as large destroyer leaders rather than scout cruisers.
The Omahas?
Yeah, basically, if you're building them at the time with what we know the Pacific War is going to be, you basically, unless you want to radically just build a completely different ship that's not an Omaha,
that's probably what you do.
Yeah.
Considering the entire point of the Omaha is how fast can we make this thing go?
The entire point, well, the Omaha will still be, they'll still be looking for speed, but it'll be a case of, yeah, speed, but we also want something which can actually be useful.
Yeah.
And the Omahas had the tragic thing of they could have been very useful, but they were constantly in the trouble of, but we don't have this and we don't have this, and you could basically, I think one of the things you probably do is build them so they're easy upgradable, but also so that they'd be, I think it'd be they'd be more emphasis on general purpose light armaments, so they'd be to an extent air defense cruisers as well as destroyer leaders, if that makes sense.
I'd want to at least have the option, if we can't do it from the start, of having the turrets chop and changeable for dual 5-inch 38s at some point. If we can't have that from the start, ideally have that from the start. But if we can't have that from the start, I'd want a chop and change option for that.
You might try and go for a dual purpose mount for the 5-inch 41,
because
then that's more of a more of a cruiser gun, kind of like the 5.25 for the Didos.
And if you've got
sort of if you've got the time, if you know it's coming, you could make a dual purpose mount for it. If that makes sense.
And also politely, Dr. Clark, as well, if you've got the size of gun pit and barbette that you will have on the Omaha, you could actually, instead of having the single purpose mount you had on some of the US destroyer leaders, you could actually build a turret big enough and ergonomic enough to actually make that work with the technology of the time.
Yeah. So the thing is, you could end up with dual purpose 5-inch 41, and let's be honest, if you could get a dual purpose 5-inch 41, would you not want a dual purpose 5-inch 41?
No, I absolutely would, but it would very much be a niche turret and mounting for that would basically be on the Omahas alone. I mean, it's going to make them flipping useful ships. Yeah, because
let's be, if you've got it and you keep developing it, would it be the dual purpose mount for your battleships and perhaps for your carriers? Because the 5-inch 41 means that it's just powerful enough in the anti-shipping role as well that suddenly you start looking at going, this makes a lot of sense. And for a 1920s, 1930s conversion of your battleships, I'd say what you end up with is you end up with the dual-purpose 5-inch 41.
Do you mean the 51?
Like a driving 51, yeah. Sorry, I keep calling it 41. I do
apologize.
Nicest way. Yeah. Sorry. I've had a fun day. I've had 2 meetings and a whole thing over the Falklands War, and my brain is now doing this and it's still getting over the last week. So I do apologize. But the 5-inch 51, if you've got a dual purpose 5-inch 51, it makes a certain sense for all the light crews and above. And to an extent, it starts to fit and go, hang on, this works for us. This works for us as a useful tool, and for your battleships and your carriers as your dual purpose weaponry for them. So basically what you end up is probably with the 5-inch 38 being destroyers and below, and the 5-inch 51 being light cruisers and above as their dual purpose weaponry, because you've got a bit of enough space for them.
Yeah.
And they can even use the same ammunition. You can make it so they can use the same ammunition. It's just, yeah, the 51, but when it fired from a 51, it'll go a bit further.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that pretty much. I think that's a fairly good summary. I mean, no. Oh well, we already answered Night Squad. I'll read it out, but basically, Dr. Clock already basically covered it earlier. So why haven't there been a Type 50 or a Type 70 series in the RN yet? I think you said it earlier. They haven't found something they want to put into that classification yet. They might do in the future.
Numbers are. They allocated Type 1s to Type 3s for a certain role. They've given the Type 30s to the general purpose frigates, but Type 1s and 2s are still in there, and they've now got a problem of, hang on, we're actually approaching Type 30s, so we've now done this, so this is a problem. Yep. The Type 4s to the Type 7s were all air warfare ships, basically. That's what they basically left open, because they thought, well, hang on, if we put it as the Type 40s are all this, and then Type 50s are this, then when we get to 49, we'll have to go back and start again. So basically, when they're making the type, they make the brackets there are a set of numbers assigned. So 1, 2, 3 is assigned to frigates. 4, 5, 6, and 7 are defined to air warfare vessels. 8 and above is assigned to general purpose ships. So theoretically, you could get a Type 1, 2, 4 in the Royal Navy service, which would be a 12 classification, and the 4 for the 12s.
Yeah. Typical Officer on Discord asked, why did the USN not have any corvettes in World War II? Instead, they built Tacoma-class frigates. Do you think Tacomas are large corvettes? The US did have corvette analogs in World War II. Basically,
Actually had corvettes.
yeah, but also, I'd argue that, basically, it's important to remember that when we think of destroyer escorts in the US Navy, that classification for the US ran the gamut of from everything the size of the Flower class all the way up to things that were brushing up on being destroyers and frigates and everything in between. The US destroyer escort classification covered so wide a classification of ships that it's not even funny.
That's also sometimes one of the problems you get with some of, I would say, some historians and the Royal Navy, if they come from the US background, because they're going, why is the Royal Navy building so few destroyer escorts versus the US Navy? And you're sitting going, it's because the Royal Navy doesn't call them all destroyer escorts. Actually, numbers aren't too dissimilar once you put all of them together. It's just the Royal Navy's building so many different things, calling them all these different names, because the Royal Navy just loves its things.
Whereas everything that we would group under the Royal Navy in corvettes, frigates, well, a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it that we would group under corvettes, frigates, and sloops, the US basically just chucked into the massive destroyer escort category.
And let's be honest, some of the sloops would probably fit into the destroyer category in the US because some of the Royal Navy sloops are very big.
Yeah. Knight 6831 for Foxo and Dragon. If HMS Enterprise and USS Enterprise both achieved awakening, how do both keep existing, given is the awakening process for a cancer theorized to work when achieved? Words.
Simple, they're two different ships. Right.
Yeah.
HMS Enterprise and USS Enterprise are two different ships. They have different legacies, different memories.
Enterprise was a good cruiser. Enterprise was a goated carrier.
They are not the same.
Unless you want to put Enterprise's armor belt and guns on the American Enterprise.
Which would be weird.
Which I'm sure American Enterprise would not mind.
More decker, more better.
Honestly, she'd probably enjoy it, considering her character.
But
Thanks.
okay, next question, and probably the final question, because it's probably going to be a bit of a long one, since there's a lot to discuss. Well, not long, but there's a bit to discuss. Gunnery Officer asks, do you think the USN is inept at convoy escort and ASW capability in World War II, unlike the British? Do you think it's the main reason why the US had little enemy submarine sinking? First of all, whoa, no, they're not inept at all. No, they once they joined the war, they committed wholeheartedly to the Battle of the Atlantic. There were joint convoy escort groups for the majority of the war that they were in it.
I think this is sort of something which I occasionally get in trouble for pointing out, though. Occasionally, and it's a misinterpretation of it. Because I've said in the past that at certain, for the USN, the Battle Atlantic is for the US, not for the US. For the USN, the Battle Atlantic is a secondary theatre. They're prepared to let the Royal Navy take lead. They provide some ships, but there are times when the US Coast Guard has more ships out there than the US Navy does, because they have only so many ships to run around. They can't be everywhere at full strength. But they're still very good at ASW warfare. They still develop. Yes, they go through a learning cycle. Every Navy, when they go into war, goes through a learning cycle of where you find out all the stuff. Some of the stuff you practiced before the war doesn't work, and some of the stuff you practiced before the war does work, and some of it works in ways you didn't expect it to. And you have to develop it and work it out and go, "Oh, frigate, that didn't work. Right, that didn't work. Okay, let's sort this out." But
also,
that's the reality, and also it's the reality, and this is something which gets me into trouble sometimes with some American viewers, but I don't mean it in a nasty way. The US Navy does not have an infinite destroyer button that just produces enough destroyers for them to do everything at the full strength they want to do. They don't have, especially during 1942-43, they have a lot of destroyer shortages because Congress hasn't authorized them to build destroyers until basically 1940.
Exactly.
There's a huge difference between the number of destroyers able to be ordered under the 1942 Ocean Navy Act and the 1938 one. That's the entire reason for the American destroyer shortage at the beginning of their involvement in World War II.
I mean, let's not forget as well, like, despite coming in late, the US does pioneer certain parts of what become doctrine. For example, they take the lead on the whole hunter-killer group concept, and they end up...
I mean, okay.
No, sorry, no, not on that one. The British had it from the beginning of war. That was why there was the carriers off on their own doing the hunter-killer.
Yeah, so just to play devil's advocate here, is it possible it's a misunderstanding of King's earlier, honestly, complete fuck-ups when it comes to the American Eastern Seaboard convoy system? With how sluggish the Americans were to adopt it.
Yes, but also they were so to adopt it, they didn't have the ships available to do it.
Yeah, but with secondary stuff like not putting the blackouts outside New York Harbor, so submarines would just sit outside New York Harbor, sinking ships backlit by the city.
Yeah.
And that sort of creates this idea of incompetence of the Royal Navy can get them across the ocean, the US Navy can't get them out to New York.
Yeah. But that was also a lot of the problems to do with the fact that federal government, state government, all those different levels of government getting in, and King knew he couldn't get that order through because all the various layers of politicians who, in fact, I think there was one politician who, when he was asking about that, told him, well, the Germans can't reach here, so there's no point in us doing that.
Sweet summer child.
And King gets the blame, and I agree with him getting the blame to an extent because he's the naval officer responsible. But there's also the fact that he's having to deal with many more layers of government, whereas the British, for the Royal Navy, just turn around. The British government turn around and go, "We've put the blackouts in place." And one of them goes, "Oh, we were just about to ask you to do that. Thank you." Yeah. That's a government thing, not so much a Navy thing.
Yeah. And unless anyone else has anything they wish to add, that brings this week's ramblings to a nice, satisfying close. I have to now go to bed and prepare for another day at work. Unfortunately, I have to pay the bills.
If people can hear heavy panting coming through, that's the poodle, not me.
Yes. If you want Fleet to not have to pay bills and do this full time, you know where to find my links to my things.
Yes. Yes, we have Christmas coming up.
Indeed.
Books are getting expensive.
Indeed. They are indeed. Right. Take care, everybody. Oh, by the way, before I go, I will actually do a little bit of a spoiler. Depending on whether or not I can actually get it and the days surrounding it off, I'm going to try and do a little bit of a birthday bash for myself this year.
Praising, please. Praising.
Birthday party, call it whatever you want. Anyway, get your mind out of the gutter. Anyway,
this is Foxo. It never leaves the gutter.
Anyway, so anyway,
those that you that don't know, bash, especially birthday bash, is a euphemism for gay men hooking up.
Since never mind, this is why. Well, then again, I'm not a gay man hooking up, so how the fuck was I supposed to know that? Anyway. Moving on. Anyway, moving on.
Television in the last 20 years?
Anyway.
Even I've picked that up.
I don't watch television. Anyway, moving on. So there might be like a few birthday events planned around that period. I was gonna try and get all of the. I'm gonna see if I can get it off. This is all dependent on me being able to actually get it off. Get the time off work,
This is intentional, right?
No. Get time off work. Can I just finish?
That's why you're hiding.
Please. Anyway, if I can get time off work, my plan basically is to try and get people together for some games and other events surrounding my birthday. So, for example, I'm going to try and get the if I can get the days off work, I'm going to try and see if we can get the Shipshape crew together for that Hoy game we never actually ended up having.
Okay.
If I can get the days off work, obviously that'll be announced. Obviously that I'll know.
Can I make a small request?
By the way,
can we please let Gareth be the one who hosts it with his computer, not you? Because it's the big fancy computer with all the Because he works with the people who make Hoi 4, he gets all the stuff updates from them before everyone else gets it.
That's very true, but I am arguably.
I know you have a fancy computer. I built it for you.
Yes,
but...
I know, but what I would say is that kind of A, it's my birthday, I kind of want to do it, and B, I am a very, very experienced Hoi 4 host. I've got a lot of hours under my belt in multiplayer.
But you also, as you're the birthday boy, shouldn't you be being looked after and having a nice time, not having to worry about any of the admin stuff, and let someone else deal with that pain?
I
am
a control freak. I am a control freak, all right.
Also, Flea, I'm sure you'll be sound of mind after a good birthday bashing.
Anyway, so we're gonna try and do that. Try and get a game of that going. I'm gonna see if I might be able to get some other things going. Maybe actually get Dr. Clark and Drac into a Supreme Commander game, if we can. Also bring back some old favorites for that as well. Like maybe get Sheer involved in it if I can drag him out of isolation. That'd be funny.
I have heard rumors that you wanted to do a gaming night with me once a week, and I've been sort of going, there might be a night a week I can do.
But again, that's some of the things like there'll probably be a special birthday ramblings like there is basically every year.
There's a possibility you haven't considered an IRL ramblings.
I couldn't get everyone together for that, not at this time of year, and also I have no idea. I don't have the space for that. Anyway, but yeah, so like I said,
there manage that in January.
Yeah, there are certain things I'm trying to put together, and hopefully if it all words, come on, think of something to say that doesn't sound like a euphemism. If it all is built up in a manner that makes it successfully able to be executed, there we go. Then hopefully we should have a good time, and it'll hopefully be enjoyable, and we'll have a lot of content for the channel as well. Also, by the way, yes, I just want to make an announcement because I know people did vote for it, and again, I'm just gonna say, like I said, I am waiting for the weather to improve, and then I will get out to Hartlepool to do the recording that I need for the first episode of the series from Sail through to the missiles, and how everything changed regarding active and passive protection, and just the way warships fought generally. But yeah, so like I said, that is on my mind. I haven't forgotten about it.
Me and Drac are looking forward to that. We're planning potentially doing a live reaction video with both of us in watching it.
But yeah, so we will see. Like obviously that'll be the first part. Then we've got the second part, third part, fourth part. So just reference, I've kind of decided how I want to do that. I'm kind of gonna dip my toes into editing. So we will do a sort of a mixed profile. So there will be a panel discussion as the main chunk of the video, with a curated panel of people for each episode as we go forwards. But there will be an edited intro and outro for each video, sort of to cap off and begin each one. So just dipping my toes in. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, everyone. Thank you all our guests for being here as usual. Thank you, Foxo. Thank you, Dr. Alex Clark. Thank you, Conron. Thank you, Moe Waifu. Thank you, The Dutchman. Thank you, Dragon. Thank you to everyone else who is here in the chat and those who support me on Patreon and YouTube. Please do subscribe. If you can, that would be really, really helpful. It really helps grow the channel. We're currently at 350 subscribers. We are only 150 away from actually getting the money from YouTube. So, tell your friends, tell your family, I exist. Anyway,